I'm Anne-Marie from Brambleberry.com. Today I'm going to show you an advanced technique called the spin swirl to create these amazing celestial inspired, perfect for Halloween even, bars of soap. The reason this recipe is advanced is because it uses embeds to get your moon, so you have to make these ahead of time. And also the spin swirl is relatively easy in concept, but it does require some understanding of trace, the ability to work pretty quickly, and of course, choosing a slow moving fragrance. The fragrance I've chosen today is a blend of two beautiful Brambleberry fragrances. First of all, one of my favorites, the Brambleberry fragrance. Literally, it's called Brambleberry, mixed with Jasmine Dreams. It, well, smells like this bar looks. It is fruity, it's floral, and most importantly, it allows me to have the time to get this delicate, interesting design in the bar. So it is a slow-moving fragrance. So whatever you choose, make sure the fragrance is going to perform beautifully for you and give you enough time to work with this mixture to get this design. Finally, I'm using the Brambleberry Swirl Mix. The reason I'm using that is, well, it also doesn't harden up that quickly and allows you to have really delicate, gorgeous swirls like this. The Brambleberry Swirl Mix is just a pre-mixed mix of my favorite oils to use for when I'm trying to get these really long-lasting, delicate designs. So the very first step for this is actually to make your embeds. And these are using the Mini Moon Column Embed Mold from Brambleberry. It looks like a moon. And we're using the low sweat cold process or like cold process melt and pour soap from Brambleberry. And the reason we're doing that is because regular melt and pour has extra glycerin added to it. So it makes it a little soft. It also means that it draws moisture to it. And what's in here? There's a lot of water in here, right? A lot of moisture. And so you want something that's already pretty hard to do your embed with, which is why we're doing the low sweat or like cold process melt and pour soap for that. So the first step is just to chop down your melt and pour soap, melt it in the microwave, and then just pour it tippy top to the top of your column mold. Let that harden, pull it out, make sure that you're getting any little things that are sticking on the sides there, and then do that again, because you are gonna need 2 full column fulls of the moon embeds to make this recipe. And then with the cutting, I just kind of eyeball it, but it needs to be able to kind of go not quite to the bottom, but it needs to at least be flush with the top of your soap. So just kind of look and see how big this bar of soap is, and then eyeball and cut to there. First and foremost, obviously, suit up for safety. You're an advanced soap maker if you're watching this video this far, and you know that. So goggles are a must. You need your gloves. I want kids and pets in another room. Well-ventilated area. You only get one set of eyes. Let's make sure we protect them. And then I have already pre-measured out my oils, and I've got my lye water already mixed. I added the sodium lactate into there. That gives the soap just a little bit more chance to harden up more quickly. My stick blender's right here. Fragrances are all ready to go. But let's talk about one final thing, the colors. So with my colors, I've already pre-mixed them. And the way I just pre-mix, it's a little bit of lightweight oil with my color, just a little bit of blending. That way you work out any clumps and you get it really even as well. And because this recipe, it's not fast moving in the slightest, but I do want to give myself maximum time to work with it, and I don't want to fiddle with my colors. I'm going to add my colors, my pre-mixed colors, directly into their containers right now. That will save me one extra step once I've hit trace. The very, very, very final thing to make sure that once you are done and dusted and you've poured everything into your mold is to have your dividers pre-assembled, because you don't want to be doing this in case your trace is just a little thick and you're kind of like hurrying. So just have these pre-assembled and just out of the way. And if you don't want them to all fall apart when you have them pre-assembled, you just squeeze in on the sides to move them, and then they stay nice and ready for you for when your soap is fully traced, gorgeous, and fully spun swirled. So now I'm just going to add my lye water into my swirl mix. And again, my sodium lactate's already in my lye water, and so that's totally done. And in my head right now, I'm kind of going over all my checklists. Like, am I suited up for safety? Is my fragrance done? Did I pre-mix all my oils? Like, because once this starts, I don't have that much time to get the design perfect. So now I'm at a nice, very, very thin trace. It is going a little grainy on me, so I know this trace is not gonna hold. I'm gonna give it just a couple more little blips, and then I'm gonna split it up. And now is the time I'm gonna work a little more quickly. Now this fragrance blend that I've got with the Brambleberry mixed with the Jasmine Dreams, it is good enough. It behaves well enough that I actually could add it to the entire batch. I am going to add it all the way at the end though, just to give myself a little bit of extra wiggle room just in case. I'm splitting my batch exactly into 3 right now and just eyeballing it, and then I'll use a spatula to get the very last of the soap out. Let's see, I'm going to do a little more black and then a little more purple. And I have a little bit too much pink, but that's not that big of a deal. I'm going to add this to the black and just getting all that last soap out so we don't have any wasted soap. And plus, this just means less dishes for me to try and deal with, because dealing with the dishes afterwards, I use like a really hot water and detergent. Still, don't need any extra in there. So there's that. Now, I have my colorants. And I'm just gonna go ahead and whisk my colors. And I have lots of whisks on hand because I wanna make sure that I can keep my soap really fluid during this process. So I'm gonna evenly distribute the fragrance oil. Again, just eyeballing it. And then I'm gonna whisk. And I am gonna whisk from light to dark. I am going to give these a really quick stick blend at the end because I want my colors to be fully incorporated and mixed in. And I notice with titanium dioxide especially that it just takes a little bit of stick blending to get it perfect. Ooh, I just love this pink. It's the Queen's Purple Mica mixed with electric bubble gum, and it is fantastic. This is black iron oxide, so it's a really solid, strong black. I used that instead of the charcoal just because I wanted it to have no transparency to it and just have absolute punch with this design. So this is just the quickest of little blurps. I just want to make sure my colorants are fully incorporated in. That's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to put my Lazy Susan on and we are gonna get started. So now all I'm gonna do is just pour in 2 different corners, and I'm gonna try and pour pretty evenly because I want these to meet in the middle eventually. And the key is you just keep switching out your colors and until your mold is full. And the really important thing with this is that you make sure that you have beautifully contrasting colors, because if you don't have really contrasting colors, what ends up happening is you end up with a sort of a, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of a watery, watered down look, and that's not what you want at all. And so just keep alternating colors back and forth until you have totally used up all your soap and totally filled your mold. And if your soap is getting a little bit thick, remember to have those whisks on hand because you can easily make sure that you can get your soap more fluid just by giving it a quick whisk. So I'm going to do that on all 3 of my colors right now because I see that this is getting a little bit thick and we need to have that fluidity. I'm going to jiggle this down a little bit and now just giving this little work through, give it a little fluidity. And I like to pour for just about kind of maybe 3, 1, 2, 3. It's not anything major in terms of like being really, ooh, see, we need this to go in. So make sure that when you are pouring that you are making sure that this kind of goes in as opposed to sitting on top. That's really key for your design. So feel free to just keep jiggling, keep working it, so that way you get a really good contrast and you get all of this to lay in as opposed to laying on top. And so that's the secret with this design, is this fluidity that we've got going. And so we're almost done. And when you add the dividers, and it actually gets a lot higher. So you're looking at this and you're like, well, that doesn't really look like that much soap. What are you doing? And once you add the dividers, it gets a lot more. So I'm gonna do, here we go. I'm gonna finish my purple on this side. Actually, I might not. Got a little bit more and I don't wanna shortchange anything here. Might end up, there we go. Okay, and now it's time for black. Just keep jiggling and jiggle Now I'm done with my black. Okay, done with the black. Adding a little bit of pink to this side. Adding a little bit of purple to this side. Ooh. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of purple on this side just to get that very last little bit out. A little bit of pink on this side just to get that last little bit out. And now it is time, this is where the magic happens. It's time to swirl. So, whew, you really want that fluidity to happen. So what we're looking for is for the whole thing to be spinning and swirling. And the key is how much swirl do you want? Now, some people go back and forth a couple times between like literally switching directions. Right now I'm doing all the same. I see this big piece right there, which kind of annoys me because it's a big piece of pink and I want to just keep working it. But if I do that, then the ends, like the sides here, get non-distinct and you don't end up with kind of the beautiful look that you want. All right, so I think I might be done. I like this, I like the ends. So I'm gonna put the dividers in and you can see how much taller they get. And then I'm just gonna kind of jiggle a little bit, kind of try and get these to be a little more flat. And now it's time to do my embeds. So the embeds are these little moons that we made earlier, and you kind of just decide where you want to put them. They don't have to go in any particular space, but make sure that you do leave just enough between the embed and the side, because you don't want the moon to be kind of sticking out on the once you pull the dividers out. And I like to put the moon in the place that looks the least interesting. So the place that needs the most kind of help, I kind of is where I put the moon. And make sure you're jiggling when you're doing this, because the moon displaces enough soap that all these bars end up kind of doming if you don't. And again, it's soap. It doesn't really matter if it domes or not, but you know, we like to have everything just a little perfect. All those little details matter. There we go. And then once I've got all of these placed perfectly, or perfectly-ish, it's soap again, stakes are low, then I will do my finishing touch of the Eco Glitter from Brambleberry, which is fantastic because it's biodegradable, which means little plastic bits don't get into your fish or your streams to ruin the environment, but still look really cute for us. Okay, and then here's the glitter. And I love glitter, so I have to say we made this batch a few times at Brambleberry already to get kind of the perfect color combo and the perfect design. And I went overboard on glitter on several of the batches, so I'm going really light, but the glitter preference is totally up to you. Just want just a little bit. It's so pretty. It's a perfect finishing touch. Now I'm just going to put this on a heat pad. I'm going to cover the top to give it some good insulation. Going to let it sit overnight and probably won't be able to pop it out for about 3 to 5 days, probably closer to 5 days. So this was made a full 5 days ago. It went through gel phase, put on a heating pad. We used sodium lactate. Ooh, we did use sodium lactate just to make sure that we'd be able to get this out. The way you pull this apart is just gently pull away from the sides. And then you can see this air brake and airlock braking. There we go. And now this is kind of where some of the finesse happens. This is still just a little bit soft. So I'm going to be really careful getting this out of the mold. So even though this is 5 days old and there's sodium lactate and this was on a gel pad, went through gel phase, it was on a heating pad, still a little soft. So I'm gonna be extra gentle getting these bars off. I like to have these hanging off of the side of something and kind of just try and break through and force the airlock to break before you kind of wrench on the dividers. And I've done previous videos where I show you how to get the dividers out with pliers, and my kind of theory and my thought process on this has definitely evolved over the last, I think, decade, because we have had these molds at Brambleberry for at least a decade now, if not longer. So my thinking on how to get the bars out best of all has definitely evolved. But one thing that hasn't changed is the fact that you never want to pull the soap off of the dividers, because all that does is make your soap tear. So be thinking pushing and sliding rather than pulling. And these are coming out beautiful. I just love these colors. The fragrance smells so good. And Jasmine Dreams mixed with the Brambleberry performed like a, well, dream in this batch. So now that half of the bars are out, you can either kind of just keep pushing, right? Pushing down, or now the middle to shorter dividers have a little bit more give. So you can kind of just wiggle them around, and then everything starts to break and to loosen up. So that way you can get your soap out more easily. So it does make perfect bars of soap every single time, which I love, but it does take just a little bit of extra TLC to get those bars out without having any rips or tears. So if I wanted to pull right now, for example, bad idea. You always want to slide. There's 3, but you can see, I mean, they're stuck. They're sitting on this. So just slide off gently. And these bars are pretty big. They're about 6.5, almost 6.75 ounces with the moon in them. So they're nice hefty bars of soap. So this actually looks really cool. I love how the swirls are down, but this is a little meh. So I'm gonna take the Brambleberry shaver here. I'm gonna spray some rubbing alcohol to help with the glide. And these bars are really soft. Ideally, I'd give it another couple of days before I did this, but I wanna show you what using the shaver will do for the design. And so I'm gonna be kind of careful because again, they're a little soft, but here you can see that, first of all, it is too soft to do, but you can see that you really get the beautiful layers from this project as opposed to just the drag down swirl. So I'm gonna do it on all the sides so you can kind of see and decide, you know, I like that look or I don't like that look or this is something I wanna do. And then you do end up with some soap at the end, right? The stuff that I'm shaving off, and it does make the bars just a little bit smaller, but that is just a stunning, gorgeous look, right? You just cannot go wrong with it versus this, right? You can see the difference in the, first of all, the texture and the detailing versus this. Beautiful bars of soap no matter what you do. So these bars just need to sit and cure and dry for another, well, 4 to 6 weeks, and then they're ready to give or sell. And anybody that gets them is going to be, well, through the moon, over the moon, because you gave it to them. These are beautiful. I love how they turned out, and the fragrance is fantastic. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you're notified every time we come out with a new video. And when you're out posting your soap in the wild on any of the social accounts, give it a hashtag BrambleOn so we can all see what you're making, see how these turned out for you, and see what else you're doing, because it's inspiring for all of us. Until next time, happy soaping. Got it? All right.